What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is co-sponsored by Dove Men Care and also Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And as part of that collaboration last year, I was part of a team that reached out to over 100,000 fathers around the world last year, fathers and dads around the world last year. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And as always, if you know Dr. Vibe even a little bit or a whole lot, you know I like to have new friends come on the Dr. Vibe Show. And we have another new friend, and we're doing an AM broadcast. And I love doing AM broadcasts too. I love broadcasting and having conversations, epic conversations all the time. New friend we have today, gentleman's name is Dr. Robb Kelly. He's a renowned addiction consultant who believes in treating the problem of addiction, not the symptoms. He's worked for many years helping addicts and alcoholics to recover from their lives from the disease of addiction. Based on his own experiences working with addicts and alcoholics over the last 20 years, PhD in psychology from Oxford University, yes, the Oxford University, and a recovered alcoholic himself, he is a triple threat against the disease of addiction. He was the CEO of a thriving telecommunications company when the walls came crashing down to his alcoholism. He ended up homeless and broken on the streets of Manchester, England, until he found the courage to save himself. He's lectured on the subject of addiction at many high-profile universities, national conferences, public schools, churches, business organizations, and hospitals, and is recognized as a leading industry authority on addiction recovery methods that are changing lives all around the world. He is currently the CEO of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group, an addiction recovery coaching company he created based on his extensive research and behavior studies that he conducted over the last 20 years. Dr. Kelly's methods may seem unconventional, leading some people to refer to him as, quote, the Gordon Ramsay of the addiction world. And I actually watched Gordon Ramsay's latest show last night, Next Level Chef, by the way, because of his direct, no-nonsense, candid approach to treating addiction. He works to, quote, make the road of recovery less of a mystery tour. He's appeared on a lot of different platforms, The Doctors, Eye Opener, Good Morning Texas, Jim Bohannon Show, Miracles in Recovery, USA Today. He's hosted Sober Steps on the KLIF radio in Dallas, Texas, and currently hosts a Recovery Channel podcast featuring special guests discovering a variety of mental health issues. So you know what? That's enough. Let's bring the star of today's conversation. Gentleman's name is Dr. Robb Kelly. Welcome, Dr. Kelly. How you doing?
Dr. Vibe, how are you, man? So good to see you.
Right back at you. I am outstanding and better to have you here today. How are things in San Antonio today?
They're a bit cold today. The temperature's dropped to a terrible 58, which is cold for us, from 78 yesterday. But yeah, nice and warm inside the office, so we're all good.
Good. You probably don't know what we've been experiencing here in Toronto. Like last Monday, we had about 18 inches of snow.
Oh, wow.
And I know you don't want to hear or even encounter any of that.
Definitely not. Wow. That's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'm thanking you for taking the time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us today on a very important subject. One of the subjects we've heard for a long time, but especially over the last 24 months, addiction, mental health challenges. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. And a big shout out to Courtney from your team for being persistent and consistent over about 2 months to make this happen. And that's because Dr. Robb is always on the go and I was always on the go. So Courtney, I bow right now. All right. So like we do always on the Dr. Vibe Show, especially with new friends, can you share a little bit about your background with us? Because it seems that in order to where you arrived, you had a journey.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. But looking back, I was born in England, obviously, because of the accent, just in case some people think I'm Canadian. No, I'm not. I'm British. Born in Manchester. There's a great famous football team there. I had a normal lower class living, council housing, or the projects, as the Americans say, and just, just loving parents, but not a lot of money about, unfortunately. So we just grew up, took my first drink at 9, the ages of 9, when I was on stage with the musical Family, my auntie and uncle. And that first drink set off my alcoholism, not straight away. It took many years, but that was the first drink I remember. Schooling good, not really up to anything. And then the high school, my main deal was music. I wanted to be a professional musician, a famous musician if possible, but not going to be. But I have played in a few famous studios. I started with Strawberry Studios owned by 10cc in Stockport outside Manchester. And then I moved eventually to Abbey Road, the place where the Beatles made famous, played with Elton John, David Bowie, Queen, all them guys during my career. And the money I earned from that, I put myself through Oxford University, Queen's College. And I had to pull a few strings to get there, obviously, because working class people don't usually go there. But I always wanted to know, I wanted to be better. And I hate to say this, but it's so true. Better than my family situation. Because I was supposed to grow up, get married, have 2 children, go to the pub every Friday and Saturday night. And that was it. I didn't want that. I wanted much, much more. And as my life expanded, I decided that I was going to go for it. There was an old man outside school one day who sat on a bench waiting for the bus. And I'm sat next to him. And he said, "How old are you, son?" And I said, I'm 13, nearly 14. And this is what he said to me. He said, "Never hold back on anything that you want to do. Take every opportunity you can and never turn down anything." And that's resonated with me for so many years that I do. And people go, "You can't have done all that." Yeah, I have. Yes, I have. And I've worked with some of the biggest rock stars, footballers, actors in the world, as well as the best road sweepers and managers. I just open myself. I'm so grateful for every single day. So my life has been crazy because during my drinking at college, I finally ended up with a PhD from college, but then went to the police force. And then, unfortunately, my alcoholism kicked up and I eventually was homeless. I lost my children. I lost my wife, my houses, my cars, my medical license. I lost everything. And I was homeless for 14 months, living on the streets, under bus shelters, in bushes, begging for money every day. Tried to commit suicide so many times. And on 2 occasions, guys, it actually worked. My heart stopped and they brought me back to life. And I hated them guys for doing it. But yeah, that's where my journey took me.
Wow.
That is an opener. That is some opener, Dr. Vibe, yeah?
So we got nothing to talk about, right?
Right.
We've got, well, so let me ask then, with your journey, what was your family dynamic growing up? Was alcohol part of the family dynamic with you growing up? Because you said you had your first drink at 9 years old. Yeah. Was that something in the family environment?
Yeah, it kind of was. My mum and dad had a bar built in the house. There was always alcoholism in the family. My cousin, my uncle, my auntie. I mean, eventually my mom, even though she had cancer, she was drinking a lot to get away from pain. But yeah, there was alcoholism in the family, and that's what people don't understand is the difference between drug addicts and alcoholics. Is alcoholics are born this way. That it's passed down from generations. It's a biochemical disease. It's passed down from generation to generation. That's not so much in drug addiction. So the alcoholic brain is slightly different. You can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic, but you can take enough drugs to become a drug addict. Now, this is research over 30 years. Some of our stuff is high-cut, leading, breakthrough stuff that we've been working on for many years. So I'm born this way. I'm born with billions of self-sabotaging neural pathways that basically my brain will always go to the worst scenario every single time. That's what causes the trauma. I suffer from trauma, like every alcoholic suffers from trauma. And if you don't deal with the trauma, you will continue to relapse and eventually you will die. And that's the bottom line. The brain needs to change to be room. I specialize in neuroplasticity, which means that we remold the brain away from self-sabotage into health and good care and love and God. That's the way out. Anybody who wants to get well from alcoholism, you can't do this journey without a spiritual awakening, because here's my findings as well. When we have a spiritual awakening and a psychic change, our DNA changes. Why is that different? Well, the same man's going to drink again. We know that. Our literature tells us that. But You have to have a complete change, and then you have to be reborn. And that's the only way out if you're a real alcoholic.
Wow. What can you share some of your challenge during the years that you were an alcoholic? What was a low point?
The low point was where most people say your low point was on the street. It wasn't. It was before that. It's when I was in the house one day and drinking, and we all went to bed, children at ages 1 and 3, thereabouts. Me and my wife went to bed. I woke up about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted a drink of alcohol. So I come downstairs to get the alcohol because I knew I had some in the kitchen. Every alcoholic always keeps a spare stash. I took it out. I put it on the counter. I turned around for a second. And when I turned back, because we were getting a crystal glass, because, hey, I'm not an alcoholic. It's crystal glass, cost a lot of money. And when I turned back, my wife had followed me down without me knowing. She grabbed the bottle of vodka off the side of the counter, and she held it to her chest, said, "You think you've had enough? Why don't you go to bed and sleep this off?" Now, you would have thought I would have said, "Thank you, Mrs. Kelly. Everything's cool. I'll go upstairs." I took a kitchen knife out and stabbed her 3 times. Then I fled to Spain. Still not the worst point, Dr. Vibe. Come back home after 3 months in Spain when she wouldn't press charges. And she left with the children. I got the 2 children back. Long story short, got the 2 kids back the next day. I popped down in front of the TV. I walked into the kitchen and thought, wouldn't it be a great idea to have 1 drink, just 1 beer? 3 days later, when the police kicked the door down and my children not been fed or changed diapers for 2 days, they served me with papers. My eldest daughter, that was 3 or 4, walked to the front, held Mummy's hand and walking down the path, and here was my lowest point. She said 3 things to me. She said, Daddy, please don't go. I'm crying, she's crying, Mum's crying, the police are crying. Halfway down the path, she turned around and said, Daddy, please get better. And when she got to the gate and opened the gate, she turned around 1 more time and she said, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. I went back into the kitchen and opened another beer, and 6 months later, everything had gone. I was on the street. So that Daddy, please stop drinking, which is the name of my book out there. It's not for profit. Everything goes back in the community. But yeah, that was my lowest time. I was saying that because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for her. I couldn't do it for me. I couldn't do it for anybody. I was just on this journey that was self-destruction. And people say, well, can't you stop for your kids? Listen, let's look at the brain real quick for a second in alcoholism. The part of the brain which we call the hypothalamus tells the normal person to drink water, eat food to survive. It's part of the survival part of the brain. At a certain point, crossing over to alcoholism, my brain, my hypothalamus tells me to drink alcohol. When your brain is telling you to do something in your own voice and your own tone, you can't help but do it. And that's the problem. And the basal ganglia on the side of the brain is repetition, strength, and confers kind of the brain. What that's doing is going, hey, let's drink, until self-sabotage comes and then finally death comes. And that's the situation I was in.
Thank you for sharing your story, some of your story. I know you've probably done it many times, but I know even how you were taking some pauses there. There's still moments that hit your heart. Yeah,
I still can't, some of the things I can't really say without still getting upset because, and this was so many years ago, but it's always going to linger on. I had trauma from that, which I've dealt with. I'm still dealing with because they were horrible days, And my youngest daughter, I have never seen. She was ages 1, and I think she must be almost 30 now. I've never seen her, and I've never seen my ex-wife, and I'm the scum of the earth as far as she's concerned, and rightly so with my behaviour and that. But my eldest daughter, who I've not spoke to for many years, quick story, I was in bed one day and my phone pings, and I can tell by the noise it's Messenger on Facebook. So I grabbed it because nobody calls me unless it's urgent. And through squinty, blurred-eyed, I read, "Hey, Dad, this is Charlotte. I've seen you on TV. Can we talk?" And then the next day, I called her straight away. And then within 24 hours, we're on a plane to the UK. And I met her. I met her for the first time in so many years. And I went to a place and we opened the door, and I was so nervous. And she was nervous, and we hugged and we cried. Now, here we go, guys, listen to this. This is when you know you're doing God's work. And she said, Dad, I've got something to show you. And she took me through to the living room. And she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Right there, I knew I was doing the right thing. See, I'm a great believer if you do the right thing and work with God's kids, you know, on a spiritual journey, that you'll get everything back, and you'll get much, much more than you've lost, than I have done.
How was that moment when you held your granddaughter for the first time?
There was a couple of things. First of all, it was unreal. It was just kind of unreal. Then secondly, flooded with gratitude and tears, shaking. But I say this often and people don't really understand it. When you think about what I'm going to say, if I'd have died right there and then, I'd been a happy man. Because that's all I ever wanted. One of my daughters back in my life, my granddaughter, who I cherish today. And my daughter, after speaking to her for a couple of weeks, you know, we stayed there and we come home, we speak every day. She wanted to do what I do, so we sent her back to college. And 6 months ago, she became a therapist and she graduated for NLP, and she opened my Manchester office in the United Kingdom.
What?
Bam! How's
Come
that?
on now.
I know.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And when we get on with the patient and she's working with the kids and I'm working with the patient, we get on together and we tell her this is my daughter, and they just think it's the best thing ever. We have a fantastic relationship today. Went over and seen her at Christmas. You know, she's absolutely amazing at what she does. And my granddaughter, obviously, we pay for everything and spoil everybody. But yeah, man, I'm the luckiest and blessed man in the world. And like I say, I don't have bad days, you know. I mean, I have better days than others, don't get me wrong, but how can I have a bad day when all this has happened to me and it's all come back? But this is what I've learned from what I do today. So everything I do today is neuroscience and experience. If I wouldn't have gone through that with my children and my wife, if I wouldn't have gone through the homelessness, the begging every day, the beating people up for money for alcohol, if I wouldn't have gone through that, I couldn't do what I did today. So looking back, I often say that my homeless and all that stuff that went with it was like a semester at Harvard University. The knowledge and the experience that I got from there, because people see me today, what do you know, Dr. Robb, living in your $1 million house and your cars and all, what do you know about homelessness? And I'd say, hey, Johnny, sit down, let me explain to you what I was. And let me explain even better how you can exceed what I've done, far more than I've done. Because what we can visualize in our head, we can hold in our hand every single time. And we're not talking about 300 or 400 patients here, Dr. Vibe. We're talking about over 7,000 patients I've worked with, you know, and got people well. And I'm excited today as the first day I started this deal, because I get to see miracles on a daily basis. I get to see God's work, and it's phenomenal. And I'm passionate, and I just love in life. I just have a great life.
You are what I would say, you're blessed and highly favored, sir.
Yes, I am.
You're
There's not a day go by that we don't know that. Yeah, me and my wife often just look at each other and go, because I've only been married to my wife for about 4 or 5 years and met her 9 years ago. So she says every day we're blessed. And how did we get here? And the answer is we're highly favored, and we're here to do a mission, and we've been chosen by God to heal. Isaiah 61 was my favorite Bible verse. And when I came over here, there was a guy that I met that his Bible group was called Isaiah 61. And Isaiah 61 says to bring good news and healing to the families and the people that you meet. That's exactly what I do.
Let me ask, as before we get into what you do today, when did the turn happen? Was there a moment or some moments that the turn happened?
Yeah, I had a huge spiritual awakening on the streets. And what happened, it was early morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, pouring down with rain. I'm desperate. I have no alcohol with me. I'm going into withdrawals. I want to die. I'm walking on the back ends of Manchester, the cobbled streets where nobody goes. There's only factories there. And I dropped down to my hands and knees, and I started to cry like a baby from my stomach. It's important you know that, guys. That aching stomach cry. And after all that happened to me, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in nobody. Humanity had given up on me. And I got on my hands and knees and I'm crying and watching my tears hit the cobblestones and turn purple. And I looked up to the sky in this rain and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And I'm telling you, 30 seconds later, 40 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner. He had a little Bible in his hand. He came up to me and said, hey, do you need help? And I said, yeah, I'm an alcoholic and dying. He said, well, I'm an alcoholic in recovery. You're going to come back to my house. We're going to clean you up and we're going to set you on your journey. And that's what it happened.
Thank you for sharing so openly. I appreciate that. And I know others who are watching this live or listening to it live or on replay are appreciating this. So you began to, you decide to make a turn. When did you decide to make your test, for lack of a better word, your testimony? Well, so when did you decide? When did you decide to say, okay, I've had all these experiences, I've made a turn, but not what I got to do is bigger than me.
Yes, it was probably about. Well, I met this guy Derek, who found me on the street, took me to a 12-step meeting. I met this guy called John, who took me through the big book and all sorts of teachings over a period of 8 weeks, and we've never been able to find this guy since. But I knew, he kept saying, Rob, you've been given a gift. You need to do this. You need to travel. You need to come out of Manchester. You know, you need to teach these teachings and save people. And that's where I turned around on the last day of him. I was walking home at probably about 8:30 p.m. Because I was living in this guy's house and I couldn't afford a car or bus fare. And I knew on the way back that I had a mission, that I was given a mission. And I tried to go back a couple of weeks later because the next day I was in this guy's basement. The next day I got offered a part-time job out of nowhere, which later turned into a full-time job. The week after, someone gave me a beaten old car to drive to work in, but it was phenomenal. So I went back to thank this guy in the apartment that I'd been going to for 10 weeks, this apartment, and nobody there. And I knocked on the neighbor and said, well, can you tell me where John's moved to? And he said, there's been nobody there for 6 months. And I knocked on the other side when a woman comes to the door and she said, that apartment has been derelict for 12 months. Nobody's been in there. It's been locked up for 12 months. Went back to the meeting where I saw him. Nobody recollected. When I said to the chairman, I was over there speaking to John near the coffee machine, this was their reply. Rob, I don't mean to be funny, but he was over there talking to yourself. Never found that man. But what he taught me is how I created my program, and it saved lives. And that's, I don't want to question it. I've been doing this for 30 years. I just know that God, through this guy who was never traced, has given me something that I've created this program of brain science, spirituality, and unselfishness, and people are getting well. And I just knew that this was my mission in life. And, you know, I'm 60 years old. I should retire by now. I'll never retire. As long as God's got a breath in me, you got to do his teachings. Always do his teachings. Always.
Well, if I hear about you retiring, I'm going to come and get you. And say, get back up. Don't you talk that. No, you got too many people to serve, my friend. Too many.
Yes, sir.
So let's go back to the early days. So you said, I'm going to start this. What were the early days like of what you were doing? Because obviously it's different now, but do you have memories of the early days?
Yeah, it was, I never made any money out of this, but yeah, I was struggling. I was in this guy's apartment, and after the homelessness, but it was just, people were laughing at me. Like I go to 12-step meetings and tell people they can recover permanently, and people are laugh, because that's one of the things this John told me, that God had told me to tell me. He said, tell people they can fully permanently recover from this disease, and people would laugh at me. And when I spoke, people would sneer at me, and some people get angry at me. You shouldn't be saying them things in here. That's false. I was just reading from the book that was 12-step book. That's all I was doing. But people get angry. But you see, what happened was I'm an ex-fighter, ex-bodybuilder, and I don't really take any crap from anybody. So God gave me everything I need to walk into these rooms and teach, because if there was one or two people in there, which there was, that needed to hear what I had to say, it was saving lives. And all these charlatans around me, you know, including some pastors, would say you shouldn't be speaking like that. But God, I just kept going, man. I kept going and going and going and going, and I didn't stop. And I traveled around with my big book and a mission to sell people, and I would go to the homeless, and we'd be preaching to them, and we'd be, just talking to them, and it was a lonely journey. It still is a lonely journey to a certain amount, because my findings and teachings from the early days are different to anybody else's. That's why they call me the Gordon Ramsay, because first of all, I curse a lot when I'm working with a patient, because I'm trying to attract his attention. I'm trying to shock the disease. Plus, I know Gordon. Gordon's a good friend of mine. But yeah, it's like everything was out of the box and people wasn't accepting it. And as the years went by and people started to get well, and then I moved to America 14, 15 years ago, and the medical authority over here said, you're wasting your time. There's no money in recovery. There's no money in people getting well. And your experience and your trials and your tests don't mean nothing. But as I kept carrying on, people then started to listen about what I was talking about the brain science and the spiritual side of fully being, and like, I'm a recovered alcoholic. I'm not going to drink again if I continue to do what I need to do. So yeah, it's still lonely today.
Just a little intro before we continue on the journey, the move from England to America, challenging decision or something that you wanted and needed to do?
Completely fluke. I got a phone call one day, and it was a girl from America whose pastor from this enormous church in Plano had asked her to call me and asked if I would come over there for like 2 weeks to teach to their youth ministry, because there's a big crack cocaine in this really affluent area. So I decided to go. I was so excited. I've never been to America, never really been out of the country apart from Spain. So we started to talk, and they sent my air tickets over, and I was so excited. And then a week before I was going to come, I was getting all my passport out, and my passport had expired. And I'm like, oh my God. So I jumped on a bus and I went down to Liverpool, which is about 35 miles. I went into the passport place. I gave all my stuff in to renew my passport. And I said, I want to expedite it. And he said, sure. And he took the money and he said, okay, look for it for another 4 to 6 weeks. It'll be with you. And I said, it can't be 4 to 6 weeks. In 7 or 8 days, I'm due to fly to America. I've got to go to America. And he said, son, I'm telling you now, it's 5 or 6 weeks. It's 3 months if you don't expedite it. I left there crying. I came home. I wasn't going to call him because I was so embarrassed. I was going to call him on the last day and make some excuse up. 2 days before I was going to fly, there was a knock on the door. And this was 5 days after the passport that was supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks. The postman handed me a package. It was my passport. So right there and then, I knew I had to come in. So I came over here for 2 weeks. And as soon as I stood up, took a step into America, I knew I'd never go home again to live. And my life took off from there.
Wow. Well, folks, we could Dr. Robb could spend all day saying stories, but I'm sure that most people are here to talking about addiction. So let's roll up our sleeves and get into it. Addiction, the addictions that you help people get over. During your journey doing this, have the root causes changed any, or are they still the same?
The root cause has only changed because of lack of knowledge that we used to have. The root cause has always been the same. What you have to understand with addiction is alcohol and drugs have a 1% to do with alcoholism and drug addiction. Only 1%. It's the symptom. It's like the spots to my chicken pox. Hey, Rob, you've got chicken pox. How do you know? See the spots all over you. No, that's the symptom. What I actually have is a viral infection that can kill me as an adult. People only see the bottles. They don't see the internal stuff going on with the brain biochemical disease that I have that switches. So information and knowledge has changed. Root cause of any addiction is trauma. People say, what's the gateway drug? Is it marijuana? No, it's trauma. Everybody who's an alcoholic or addict has trauma. And I'm not talking about a plane crash or, I'm talking about the littlest things, oh, you can't go to college like your brother. Don't be stupid. That's a crazy idea. Trauma as a kid. That kid will carry that through to his adult life. And when he comes to make a decision on wife, car, house, wherever it may be, he's going to hear mom's voice going, that's a waste of time. Don't be stupid. You can't do that. That's where the problem lies, in the subconscious brain.
one of the great supporters of the Dr. Vibe Show, Macmillan Group here in the Greater Toronto Area, says, "Good morning, great conversation, gentlemen." Thank you, Macmillan Group. Well, the star's to my other side. It's not me. So just realize that. Let's break it down to, I do a lot of serving for men. Are the challenges that men have with alcoholism and drug addiction different than those from women?
No, exactly the same. The only problem being there is men are supposed to be the household. They're supposed to run the household. They're supposed to be the macho guy and everything like that. They fall from grace, so people take more notice. Over the last 20, 30 years, we found out that women have more alcoholic problems than men, but are very, very reluctant to come forward. Okay, so they kind of suffer in silence. And these are the soccer moms, and having wine every day, and then go home and can't stop, so they have wine at night. And they don't come out as much as men. And he's taken 100 years or so for men to actually stand up like they do today and go, "Hey, you know something? I got a problem, Dr. Robb. I got a real problem." Because men don't like doing that. Whereas women are supposed to run the house when the man's not there, and look after the kids and make sure everything's good. And I'm not being sexual or nothing. It's just like, they're kind of the roles I have. Me and my wife run the business. We run our house. But at the end of the day, I try to protect her as a man with my strength. I try to protect her. So, that's how it works. But yeah, definitely women are up there with the men as well, unfortunately.
Wow, that's quite a moment that you've just shared with us there, because a lot of people would assume different. Macmillan Group is saying, "Dr. Kelly is opening my mind to the issues that face most of us."
Yeah, and listen, here's the deal with alcoholism and addiction. Everybody knows somebody who's suffering from that, and if you don't, it's probably you. That's how rife it is, and we've not even started with the fentanyl tidal wave tsunami that's coming over us in the next couple of years. But yeah, there's two things about alcoholism and addiction. It's the most misunderstood disease, and it's the only self-diagnosed disease in the world. 10 DUIs do not make you an alcoholic. If your doctor tells you an alcoholic, that's not true. You can only self-diagnose yourself. Once alcohol goes into my body, I act differently, and it sets up a chain to absolute self-sabotage. And that's what we need to find out about this journey is, you see mums and dads and they're struggling and kids going into care. And instead of, saying, you're a waste of time, you're a piece of crap or whatever, we need to be looking at the disease and going, how the hell can we help you with this? That's why we give over $250,000 last year away to families who are in recovery, families that want the kids back, families that want to get their life back, that want the apartment, that want the little tiny car, that whatever it may be. We offer this help and financial help to these people. Now, we don't ask anybody that asks us, we're kind of shy away from, because a lot of charlatans out there. But we see these people in different communities, in Florida, San Antonio, in Missouri, wherever we go to visit, and we will quietly, pay for somebody's 12-month rent on an apartment, and we'll pay for all the legal fees to get the children back out of foster care. That's what we do, because giving back is part of my recovery.
Love that. I love that quote. Giving back is part of my recovery. I think it's a strong statement. That is beautiful. With, I was going to say this later, but let's address it right now. What impact has the pandemic had? Because a lot of people were going through trauma beforehand, and even more so, a lot of people now are recognizing that they're going through trauma. And I've got to a point where I think most people need a therapist.
I would agree with that statement. So here's the deal with the human body and the human mind is the worst thing you can do to a human being is isolate somebody. If we look at the statistics on death row, 90% of people actually get to the chair or the injection are mentally insane because the isolation gets them first. So we're asking people to go and isolate in their own house. First of all, you've got family and kids in there, or even if you're on your own, the family and kids are going to wind you up and get on your nerves, and it's going to be a horrible experience of you and the wife being in the same building 24 hours a day. If you live on your own, it's isolation. Texas alone, alcohol consumption went up by 46%. Marriages and divorces went up by 32%. Addiction went up by 80%. These are the statistics we've been working on since, and it's devastating families. The loss of jobs, the loss of identity. You know, psychologically, when we walk around with a mask on, we lose our identity. That's a serious, serious damage to the central nervous system and the brain itself, because we need our identity. Most people that come to me don't know who they are. And we get them to see who they are. But when you're walking around with a mask, you're isolating, you can't do things we want to do, the body goes into this depression. And depression is the highest records of depression that we've seen right now. And on a business side, we have never been so busy ever.
I can imagine. Well, that's why it took me 2 months to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah, ever. I mean, it's just like, I mean, I'm a concierge doctor. I only treat 4 to 5 patients at one time. Going back 6 months ago, we had 29 patients. We had people we couldn't turn down because they were dying. I was working from 5 a.m. until 11 p.m. at night time, trying to get to these people and see these people, and with all my therapists and, you know, all the people we can help, just trying to get help for these people. And we did it. Dr. Vibe, we did it. Most people we work with are still sober today, and they've got jobs back and they've got lives back. But I was exhausted after all that, because if I don't take care of me, how can I take care of anybody else? So we vacated a bit. We took December off completely. And then only Monday did I come back to work to get to start again. But yeah, it was very, very busy. So many people suffering, you know.
There's so much, and I'm already going to ask if we can have you back again sooner rather than later, because there's so much that you're peeling here that is so powerful and informative. One of the things that you mentioned, most people don't know who they are. Most alcoholics, they don't. Can you delve a little bit deeper into that for us?
Yeah, as people, we carry our childhood with us, our trauma from childhood, and we'll never be good enough. I've come to this conclusion: never going to be thin enough, never going to be blonde enough, never going to be rich enough. End of story. Once I resign myself with that, life got a lot better. But people don't know how powerful they are. People don't know that everybody in the world is empowered. But what happens, they look at these guys at CEO of these billion-dollar companies and go, wow, I wish I could do that. The only thing that's stopping you from doing that is you. That's all. He believed in himself. You don't believe in yourself yet. It's like, let's look at quantum physics plays a part in this. Let's look at a basketball court, for instance. Quantum physics says, proved science, nothing solid. I can be on that court up to 25 places at the same time. So visualize this, guys. The basketball, 25 places at the same time. Let's have a look. Where do I want to be? I want to be over near the goal. So I walk over to the goal, I wait for the ball, I get the ball, slap it in the net, and I become the hero of the game. Okay, question is, how do I get there? Listen carefully. You walk over and you take that position. We don't beg for it. We don't audition for it. It's there for the taking. Walk over, take the position. What, me? Yeah, you. The guy sat at home now, depressed, don't know what to do. You are so empowered. You can change so many people's lives. And just stop being selfish. Get out, get well. Get excited, because all the people are going to die while you're still sat at home on your sofa, depressed and miserable. You are the empowered ones. If you're going through any depression, guys, if you're going through a bad time and think this is my lot in life, no, it's not. This is your training. This is your semester at Harvard, because God and the spirit of the universe, or whatever you want to call it, has got better plans for you. And the only reason you're going through this is to be trained to step in this position of power, empowered. Everybody needs leaders. We've got lack of leaders right now in the world, guys. We need good, honest leaders. And believe it or not, I'm speaking to you sat at home now thinking you're not good enough. And if you're sat at home thinking you're not good enough, I want to say something. I want to apologize to you guys, because somebody has put that there. End of story. Don't believe that crap. You have been chosen. Get the depression done. Get the homeless done. Get the bad times done. Now step in to the solution. Step into the future. Because what that does is, when somebody comes and go, hey, Jimmy, I'm going through this depression, I don't know what to do. You can go, hey, sit down. Let me tell you what I did with my depression. What? You was depressed? Yeah. And that's how it works in this world. Visualize it. Walk over. Hold it in your hand. End of story. as long as you're doing good deeds, being kind to people, not doing the wrong thing, don't be having affairs behind your wife's back, anything like that, stealing money from work. No, it doesn't work. You won't have an amazing life. When you do this stuff, your life will be miraculous, believe me. And if it isn't, contact me, I'll send you $5,000. That's how confident I am with our research. The little things change men and women to be better people.
Well, for those who want to know what Dr. Robb is like, you just got a sample right there, gratis. you got it gratis. Let me ask you, shared with us a few moments ago that you had like 29 patients going all at once. Were there commonalities at all with them, or what were the things that they were sharing with you from where they were when they came to you at the beginning?
Drinking was one of them. Alcohol. Now, not all of them were alcoholic, but all of them abused alcohol. There's a difference there. But more alcohol, depression, and family arguing every day. That's what they come. Because most people that come, it doesn't have to be alcoholism or addiction or any addiction. It could be just lack of confidence, don't know where I'm going in life, don't know who I am. But that's the people who came and got stuck in this rut of isolation that they were going downhill. So what happened? Let me tell you about the little survey that was done.
Sure, go ahead.
We put 6 mice into 6 different cages, and we have 2 feeders in there. We had one with cocaine in it and one with pure water. Okay, all them isolated people or mice went to the cocaine every time. Okay, so you take it, go back, sleep, come back, take the cocaine every single time. Okay, every time they went to the ones with a little bit of sprinkling of cocaine in. Every time didn't touch the water. Okay, then we put them all together in the same cage. Guess what happened? They all started drinking the water. We need each other, guys, because if we don't, we start to go insane. And the cocaine was making them feel good because they were feeling so depressed. Same with human beings. We'll take any way out to make us feel better when we isolate. So we've just got to be mindful of that. Listen, knowledge is key to the illness, to the depression, to the bipolar, whatever, to suicidal thoughts. It's key. And listen, I love this show. I've been doing my research on the show. Listen to this, guys. You think I'm full of crap? You think I'm sat here on my ivory tower? Listen, if you're sat at home and you're depressed, if you're thinking you don't know who you are, if you just want a 5 to 10 minute pep talk, I will give you a pep talk that will change your life. And here's my cell phone number. Not Corny's, not my assistant, not my desk or reception. This is my cell phone number. Text me. I'm obviously busy. I will call you back and give you a 5 minute pep talk. 214-600-0210. That's this phone here, right next to me. Because I'm still in the trenches, guys. My heart and soul are still on the streets. They're still in the projects. It's wherever it may be. I'm still in the trenches. I will never be too big or too rich to help the human being, because that's what it comes down to. And if you're sat at home going, oh, wow, I'll just do my research. Don't Google me, please. Don't Google, because you won't call me. Because I've done everything and seen everything and worked with everybody. But just pick up the phone and text me. Just text. Well, I don't think you want to speak to me. Listen, you're doing me the favor. Believe it.
So I've put it on the screen here for people watching live or watching the replay, or on the replay if you're listening. 214-600-0210. And I did not ask Dr. Robb to offer that, by the way, folks.
No.
He put it out there. He put it out there out of his own heart.
Yeah. So to help each other, guys. We've got to love each other and be there for each other.
Well,
because, hey, listen,
go ahead.
I've been in places where somebody said a line or 2 lines to me, it's changed my direction. I want to be that guy that changes your direction. Not going to cost you anything. It's not about money. It's about being a human being to another human being who is going through what I used to go through. You can double what I've done. I ain't a rocket science. Just believe in yourself. Believe.
It's interesting. Someone told me something a long time ago, and I fully believe it, that the more people you help, the more people that need help.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so true. And the other thing to remember as well is, giving back is important. Now, when I was homeless, I couldn't give anything back. When It started, I couldn't give any. I'm in a position now to give back. You'll never go broke by giving away. You know, and people say, I pull up at the lights today with, you know, a couple of friends in the car, and one of the homeless people will come up, I'll give them $10 or $20. And my friend said the other day, oh, you know what they're going to do with that, don't you? And I said, well, I would hope they'd go and buy alcohol or drugs, because that's what I would do living on the streets, wouldn't you? And they go very quiet. And then you see them handing out money. It's not our business what they do with the money, their time we give them. It's none of our business. Our business is giving time, giving kindness, giving money, if you can do it, whatever it may be. That's our job. Everything else is de minimis.
Amazing. Well, let's spend a few moments before we start winding down talking about, you know, the services that your wonderful organization offers. Tell us about the Robb Kelly Recovery Group as we show it up on our screen here.
Robb Kelly Recovery Group is a foundation. We have 6 offices, 6 different countries. Excuse me. We help alcoholics and addicts and depressed people to change their lives. We use brain science, neuroscience. We use NLP. We have a great bunch of therapists. I am also trained in neuroplasticity and all that great stuff to change. But we're a family situation. My niece, my daughter, me, my wife, and 2 close friends. That's the company. We are small. We are caring. And we will guarantee that we will change your life, or we will refund your money. Now, that's unheard of. Nobody in the world does that, by the way, guys. Nobody in the world in the treatment industry does that. But we're that confident that we've never had a refund yet. Would you believe? We'll change your life. You've got nothing to lose. Come on board, you know, pay your money, take you through a program of ours. You watch your life take off. You'll get that job, car, girl, house. You'll be sober. You'll be clean. You'll have an amazing life. Believe it. It's just 7,000 patients, 30 years. We do not fail because we care and we're passionate, knowledgeable.
Speaking 7,000 patients, 30 years. You know what? I got to ask you, doesn't matter when, where, big, small, share us a success story.
I'll share a success story without mentioning the name. We picked this guy up from jail. He's in handcuffs. The judge he's done with him. He wants to throw him back in jail. Now, all the press are over this because he used to be a movie star. Not huge, but, you know, he's a household name. People know who he is. So we went down there. He asked for us. We took him back to our ranch. We used to have a ranch in Dallas, and I live in San Antonio. And we worked with him for 90 days. And we told him, you're going to be the biggest, highest paid actor in the world. And we programmed his brain to think that way, because that's what it's about. Start acting rich if you want to be rich. Start acting smart if you want to be smart. It just comes. Start acting it. So 2 weeks before he went, we got a big package through the mail with his name on it. And I gave it to him. And as he opened it up, I knew it was going to be good. And he took out this script and he said, oh my God, it's a script for Iron Man.
Wow.
And the rest is history without mentioning anybody's name. But yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. How are people hearing about the service that you offer these days compared to how they heard about it in the beginning?
Well, actually, would you believe that all the TV I do, all the high profile stuff I do, doesn't really do anything. It's all word of mouth.
How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel, my man?
You know, sometimes it makes me cry. Like every single week I'll sit there and he makes me cry because people say such the nicest things, you know. And when somebody calls and they want they want help with either them or the daughter, we pick a name out of the hat and say, hey, call this guy first and talk to him. They'll call the next patient. We don't know who he is. We'll just give him the name, you know, and the call up. And yeah, it's that word of mouth. Is, oh my God, have you seen what this company's doing? And yeah, it's just phenomenal. Sometimes I can't believe the stuff now I have my haters like everybody else. That's fine. I pray for them every day. But the nice people that say nice things and pass our message on is just mind blowing.
What is your vision for the future?
My vision for the future in San Antonio, we're going to build a turnkey solution. We're going to build a detox attached to a 30-day stay. and then we want them to go back home with a 90-day online, and then a 5-year case management. And while they're in there, this is what we do now. While I'm working with the husband, my team work with the wife, so that when they go home together, they're all on the same page. A family dynamic is important. So I want to build this unit, this treatment center, different to anybody else's, and I want to leave a legacy. That look at that, he did something. The Robb Kelly Recovery Group did something that changed people's lives. And when I get to heaven, because I know all the bad things I've done, I've obviously asked for forgiveness and done my best to get back. I know he's going to open the door and do a high five and say, good job.
I like that. There's so many, Jesus, I got to do a part 2 because I got like 7,000 things to have conversations about. But let me ask, for us who are sitting here, what do you want to say to us at this point on January 20th, 2022? Some of us may feel we're okay. Some of us aren't okay. Some of us who think we're okay, we're probably not. What do you have coming from your heart to share with the audience today?
We never know how powerful we are. We never see ourselves for who we are. We'll never do that. We have to rely on other people to tell us that we're doing something good, because we'll never know. So start believing in yourself. Start, walking. Start walking with your head up. Start walking with your chest out a little bit. Be kind. Dress accordingly. Speak accordingly, and act accordingly. And each and every one of people out there, you're not watching this by mistake. I want to get that out of the way. You haven't tuned into this by mistake. There's a reason why me and you and Dr. Vibe is talking right now. Because if you're listening, you've been chosen to be a leader. So perk up. Let's do it. Let's get out there and do it. You're so empowered. It's a shame. It's a crying shame that you don't know how empowered you are. If I was speaking to a patient now, I say the first thing when I get online, if me and you could swap places for 3 minutes, all your problems would be over, because you would see you as you.
I love that. 2 things popped in my mind before we close it down. First of all, we are living in a time where there's a lot of division, right? And causes people to fall into addictions. Any thoughts in regards to addressing a world that's pretty divided at times?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been my heart for a long time. It's like, first of all, if you want to solve 90% of the problems, turn your TV off.
I agree with that.
That's the first step.
Good take.
Yeah. I want to say, whether you're black and white, Chinese, blue, I don't care, it doesn't make any difference. Start loving each other. And I'll give you a key. Anybody want to get high this today or tomorrow? Listen, dopamine is our chemical release. It's our feel-good chemical. If you thank somebody or compliment somebody, dopamine's released into the brain. Go and get high today. Go and feel that natural high. And I'll tell you what, it's like any other natural drug. Once you do it once, you can't stop. It's phenomenal.
That is beautiful. And my final thing is something that I do as much as I can, and I hope that you will verify this. At least every week, I just reach out to 2 or 3 people, whether it's by phone or text or email, and I just have 2 words for them. I say, "You good?"
Yeah.
How important is that, especially during this time, especially people who are going through addiction right now? Because I'm a firm believer, a lot of times the simple things are the best things.
This is the unknown secret with alcoholism and addiction. It's the smallest thing that changes people. If you're sat there one day and you go, "Oh no, Johnny's doing," text or pick up the phone, because you can bet, it always happens to me, you can bet at that time when you call, he will say, "Oh my God, so glad you called. I've got this problem," whatever it is. But yeah, I love doing that. I love it. Just random people every day, just see how they're doing, man. See how they're doing, and you both win. It's a win-win situation. Need more love in this world. Let's stop the hate. I hate. I'm not a political person, because I'm not into all that. But everybody wants to fill us with fear. Everybody wants to divide us because they know as one, as a joint unit, we're very powerful. So yeah, start loving, man. I'm telling you, just that hate causes cancer to grow even further. That hate will make you miserable until, I often say to people, last night I went to bed, I was 18, I got up this morning, I'm 60. That's how fast life goes. Do you want to waste it really being hateful and resentful and, you know, that brother you haven't spoke to for 10 years because he stole your job or something? It's like, come on, it's time to finish that. One person at a time.
Wow. This has been a powerful conversation. This is the third time I'm going to ask Dr. Robb. We got to have a part 2 sooner rather than later. This is beautiful. So just to wrap things up, if you want to find out more, go to the website, robbkelly.com. That's Robb with 2 B's and Kelly with 2 L's. .com, and he has put it out there too. He'll give you 5 minutes of your time, folks. I didn't ask him to do this. He did this out of his own heart.
Yeah. Not going to sell you anything. Not going to try and sell you anything. Just pep you up. Phone
or text 214-600-0210. Just putting up a comment with just Leslie McEwen, who does this type of passion, because I don't call it work. I call it a passion.
Yes.
It's not hard. It's not hard work. It's heart work. And Leslie,
oh my goodness, hang on a second. I need to write that down.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
All right.
My goodness.
Okay.
Beautiful, man.
All right. Love yourself and love others. Dr. Robb, thank you so much for all you have done, all you will be doing. And we certainly will have to have you back. And I'm going to text you. So, all right. So thank you so much. Be well. And to you and your family and all the people you have served, are going to serve, will be serving, remember to give yourselves grace. Thank you so much. Wow. What an epic conversation, folks. That was absolutely fabulous. Dr. Robb rocked the house, and I knew he would. And again, big thanks to Courtney from his staff. 2 months of back and forth was so worth it. So everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the Dr. Vibe show today. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. Shout out to the Macmillan Group and Leslie, especially for putting up the comments. It's appreciated and not taken for granted. So if you want to find out more about Dr. Vibe, I'm just going to do this right here. I got to find, here we go. There's my website address, the DRVIBESHOW. Twitter at DRVIBESHOW, Instagram, the DRVIBESHOW, and email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So as always, I close out with this. Live your life as a dream if you can dream it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect, and remember to give yourselves grace. God bless, peace to all, keep the faith, and remember, walk good. And we'll see you soon, and be safe.